Disney XD. While nowadays it's a graveyard of reruns of current/recently ended Disney cartoons and whatever other crap they feel like airing, there was a time when it produced original series, both live action and animated, and at one point it was the exclusive home for Disney's TV animation, not counting Disney Junior. Designed as Disney Channel for boys in a time when the main channel had started aiming more towards a female demographic, most of Disney XD's original series incorporated action elements to appeal to a male demographic. Or in the case of Crash and Bernstein, they just went all in on the boys rule mentality. Don't worry, I still love you. But one of their best shows, and probably their best sitcom, was Lab Rats. If I told you there was a Disney sitcom about 3 bionic teens trying to balance saving the world with being regular teens, you'd probably think it sounds really stupid, right?
Wrong!
It's actually really good, with funny jokes, interesting stories, likable characters, and it can occasionally be a little emotional. This video is a retrospective on the entire show, where I'll be going through each season, so spoilers. Without further ado, let's start off this Lab Rats retrospective. Before I get into the show itself, I think I should go through some brief history. In May 2010, Disney XD greenlit a pilot called $1 Billion Freshman, created and executive produced by Chris Peterson, Brian Moore, and Mark Brazil, who had all previously worked on That 70s Show, and directed by Mark Zandrowski, who worked on The Big Bang Theory. The plot was similar to the final show, revolving around bionic teens trying to fit in with normal society, but also differed in many ways. I found a lot of info, some of which I'm not sure is true, and I'd love to get in contact with the creators to see how much of it is accurate and if it's possible for the pilot to be released. But this video isn't about the pilot, this is about the show, so all you need to know is that the pilot was filmed in summer 2010 and was eventually reworked into Lab Rats, officially being picked up in July 2011, filming in September that same year, and premiering on February 27th, 2012. Season 1 of Lab Rats is a pretty solid introduction to the series. I'm not a huge fan of the 2-part pilot Crush, Chop, and Burn, but for the most part it's a set of funny and entertaining stories that do a lot with the show's concept. Because it's on a Disney sitcom budget, it limits what they can do in terms of action and special effects, but I think they make the most of it. In terms of characters, Leo is the son of Tasha, stepson of Davenport, and friend of Adam Breen Chase. He serves the role of the normal, non-bionic kid that the kids at home can relate to. He can be selfish and irresponsible and generally speaks his mind, but he always learns his lesson in the end, and it feels like he genuinely cares about Adam Breen Chase. Plus he's funny, that's what really matters. Adam is the oldest of the Lab Rats and has super strength but little intelligence. But for the most part, his blissfulness makes him a lovable moron, making it easier to laugh at him. Bree is the middle child of the Lab Rats. She has super speed and fills the role of the token girl character that the girls can relate to. She obsesses over boys, her phone, and tries to fit in with the popular girls at school. She's not bad, but I personally never really liked her. Chase is the youngest of the Lab Rats and has super intelligence. Being super smart, he typically serves the role of the straight man, to Adam in particular, and I find him quite likable. He also has an alter ego named Spike, who's super confident, super aggressive, and super funny. Davenport is a billionaire inventor who, in Season 1, as far as we know, created Adam Breen Chase, and is Tasha's wife and Leo's stepdad. He is quite full of himself, but he really does care about his family and is once again funny. Tasha is Davenport's wife, Leo's mom, and a TV reporter. She serves her role as a mom fine enough, scolding Leo and bonding with Bree in particular, being the only other girl in the house, but I've got a feeling the writers didn't really know what to do with her, considering she appears less as the show goes on. Eddie is Davenport's annoying smart home system, and he's my least favorite character. I get that he's supposed to be annoying to the characters, but he's supposed to be funny to the audience, and I personally found him more annoying than funny. And then you have my favorite character, Principal Perry. She's the mean principal archetype cranked up to 11. The amount of joy she gets from tormenting kids is so over the top, it's hilarious. Also, I guess I should mention that she's played by the same woman who voiced Naruto in the English dub. Trent is the jock/bully archetype who's so over the top he's funny. Janelle's Leo's love interest who sometimes seems to return his affections, but most of the time it doesn't seem mutual. Wait a minute, is that Sophie from Cory in the House?
It's a party every week, baby!
Caitlin is Bree's best friend, who only appears in 2 episodes this season and isn't really fleshed out at all. I also feel like I should mention Stephanie, who similarly to Trent is a high school archetype who's just over the top enough to be funny. In her case, she's the bratty popular girl archetype. She only appears in 2 episodes total, both from this season, but I felt like I had to mention her just because she's played by Owana Gregory, who played Amanda on Crash and Bernstein. What's up with all these anime actors? I guess she just had a knack for playing bratty popular girls on Disney XD sitcoms. Overall, a pretty solid cast. But then, there's the overarching story. In episode 18, Concert in a Can, they introduce Marcus, a mysterious new kid who befriends the heroes but is actually evil, which Leo finds out about but nobody believes him. This is later followed up on in the season finale, Mission Space, where he installs a hidden spy camera in Davenport's lab, and it's revealed that he's working for a mysterious figure. It's also revealed that Adam, Bree, and Chase have hidden abilities that Davenport doesn't know about, leaving the season on quite the cliffhanger, and the start of the show getting more serialized. Admittedly, Concert in a Can ended up being my least favorite episode of the season though. It's not bad, it has its moments, I'm just not a big fan of the whole plot archetype of characters secretly evil and one of the characters finds out and tries to tell the other characters but nobody believes him. And it's hard for me to take Marcus seriously when he's constantly making this stupid face. My favorite episode ended up being Mission Invisible, where Adam, Bree, and Chase's bionics have been caught on film by Principal Perry's surveillance cameras and they have to stop her from showing it to Davenport and Tasha on a parent-teacher night. It's just a really funny and entertaining misunderstanding plot that prominently features Principal Perry, which is always a plus. Needless to say, Season 1 of Lab Rats is a great season that left me excited to see where the show goes from here. Season 2 of Lab Rats is pretty on par with 1. There's a bit more emphasis on action, which in my opinion is a downgrade, because like I said earlier, it's the weakest aspect of the show. They also cranked up Adam picking on Chase with way more short jokes, which gets really annoying. But overall, it's a pretty solid continuation of Season 1. But wait a minute, how does it continue the overarching story set up at the end of that season? Well, in the season premiere Speed Trapped, which takes place directly after the season 1 finale Mission Space, the Lab Rats sneak out to a party in Davenport's self-driving car. Marcus is at the party and he programs the car to go to the bottom of the Pacific Ocean with Leo in it. Though he doesn't consider that Adam, Bree, and Chase will try to save him, which they do, still completely ignorant to Marcus's evilness. You'd think they'd be a bit more curious as to how it happened in the first place, but I guess they just figured that Leo was messing with it. At the end of the episode, Leo finds out that Marcus is bionic, but if he tells anyone, Marcus will reveal Adam, Bree, and Chase's secret. Then, 10 episodes later, in Leo vs. Evil, Leo follows Marcus to his house and discovers his secret lair, trying to get photographic evidence that Marcus is evil and wants Adam, Bree, and Chase. Which he gets, but he gets caught by Marcus, who tries to kill him with his robot. But luckily he's able to escape by outsmarting him. He rushes home ready to show them the proof, but he drops it into the teleporter from the episode's B-plot, destroying it. He leads them to Marcus's house, which appears to be normal, so they just write him off as crazy. Wow, what jerks. You'd think they'd be a bit more willing to believe him after it turned out he was right about Marcus destroying the guitar in Concert in a Can, but nope. Yeah, if you couldn't tell, I'm not a big fan of the Marcus stuff, but we do finally get to see Marcus's father, though we're still not sure exactly who he is, and he tells Marcus that he's failed him and that he'll go after Adam, Bree, and Chase himself. Which he does in the double-length episode Bionic Showdown, where Marcus and his dad capture Davenport so Adam, Bree, and Chase will come to rescue him, letting them capture them. Which they do, and it's revealed that Marcus's dad is actually Davenport's brother, Douglas Davenport, the co-founder of Davenport Industries and Adam, Bree, and Chase's true creator, who planned on using them as bionic super soldiers, selling them to warlords and dictators before Davenport found out and took them from him, raising them to be bionic heroes. He also faked his death. This reveal was actually foreshadowed in Season 1.
They are, my brother's kids, that I adopted when he fell in a volcano.
With help from Leo, they escape and defeat Douglas and Marcus, who's actually a robot, and dies. Concluding the Marcus arc with half the season still left. As for my opinions on Bionic Showdown, it has some good drama and emotional beats, but is still quite jokey, and again, being a Disney sitcom, it's extremely limited in terms of action and special effects. I still liked it, don't get me wrong, but it could have been better. It also really shows how underused Tasha is when in this episode, her husband gets kidnapped and her son is presumed dead at one point, yet she doesn't show up once, only being mentioned in passing.
It was either this or my mom's leopard print roller bag. I made a choice. Live with it.
I'm not sure what she would have done if she was in the episode, but her absence still feels odd. As for the characters, they've mostly stayed the same, though like I said earlier, Adam picks on Chase way more, which got really annoying. It looks like they're gonna resolve it in My Little Brother, but they don't. We get more development for Bree's best friend Caitlin this season, and we find out that she's a weird girl who can also be kind of a jerk. There's a new addition to the cast in Owen, Bree's crush, who's also an artist. Similar to Stephanie from Season 1, he only appears in this season and only in 3 episodes, which is a shame because I actually liked him quite a bit. Chase's alter ego, Spike, makes his grand return in Spike's Got Talent, and with him his rivalry with Principal Perry, this time escalating into a wrestling match. Pair that with the subplot where Adam bonds with Owen and you get one of my favorites from the season. Grandma Dooley also returns and Prank You Very Much, and she's just as funny as before. Parallel Universe is probably my favorite of this season simply due to the sheer creativity and humor that comes from its concept. As for my least favorite episode, I already talked about my problems with Speed Trap, Leo vs. Evil, and Bionic Showdown, but overall I still think those are good episodes, just flawed. That leaves us with a couple mediocre episodes, and ultimately I chose Perry 2.0. Yeah, with a title like that, you'd think it'd be one of my favorite episodes this season. And while the main plot of Davenport creating a robotic version of Perry is decent, it gets held back by its subplot, where Adam and Bree think that the Irish exchange student Alistair is another robot like Marcus sent to spy on them, in a really stupid misunderstanding plot. Seriously, I understand Adam being this stupid, but Bree? And all it amounts to is them tormenting the poor guy who did nothing wrong. Twisted Mission Before Christmas is a Christmas special, though the main plot really doesn't have anything to do with Christmas besides taking place in a cold setting on Christmas Eve. There's not even much of a ticking clock for the lab rats to finish their mission before Christmas. In fact, they don't finish it before Christmas. The subplot is a bit more festive though, with Principal Perry staying over with them for Christmas, and the miracle of her actually doing something nice by making Christmas dinner for them, even if she makes them pay for it. In the season finale, No Going Back, everything changes. Principal Perry finds out about Adam, Bree, and Chase's bionics. They run away. We find out that Douglas has been unfrozen by a mysterious masked bionic man and forged Davenport's signature, causing him to lose his house and all his money. And then, he blows up the lab! And you thought Season 1 ended on a cliffhanger. So yeah, while I do think that Season 2 was a slight downgrade from 1, it definitely left me wanting to see what happens next. Season 3 was one heck of a roller coaster in terms of quality. The episodes range from really good, some of the best of the entire show, to just average. The season premiere, Sink or Swim, is not only my favorite episode of this season, but one of my favorites of the entire series, purely for its story, drama, and emotional beats. It's still a little jokey, but not to the point where it feels intrusive. With the exception of Adam, who's now flanderized to the point where pretty much every other line he has is insult and chase, which is really annoying. Even if you found it funny, I imagine it would probably get old after the first 1,000 times. The reason I laughed at Adam's stupidity in seasons 1 and 2 wasn't so much how his jokes were written, but how he was written. Because I liked him as a character, I was able to laugh at his jokes. But here, he's gone from a lovable moron with a heart of gold to an obnoxious, jerky moron who you just want to punch in the face. Come on guys, you had the chance to resolve this in My Little Brother. In fact, this season has another episode that seems like it should have resolved it. called Brother Battle. But no, it has to be another fake out because it's just so dang funny. He still makes me laugh with the occasional non sequitur, but overall I really did not like Adam in this season. Which is a shame because he used to be one of my favorite characters. But besides Adam, Sink or Swim is really good. It also reveals the mysterious masked bionic man that unfroze Douglas, Victor Crane, Douglas's partner who at the end takes over, wanting to kill Adam, Bree, and Chase, something that wasn't part of Douglas's plan. The Davenports were able to get their house back, so Adam, Bree, and Chase return home, but they still have no money. But they're able to get it back in the next episode, the Jetwing, by having people pay to see Davenport fly a fiberglass Jetwing. And they use the money to build a new lab, and I guess also to give Principal Perry her hush money so she'll keep Adam, Bree, and Chase's secret. And that's it. Them earning their money back is entirely condensed into one episode. Kind of weird since that could have spanned across the whole season, but with all the other plot threads I guess it would have gotten too cluttered. In Taken, another one of my favorite episodes from this season, Douglas saves Adam, Bree, and Chase from Crane, showing that he does have a good side. And in the episode after that, Free minus Bree gets rid of her bionics but quickly regrets it. Leading into the next episode, Which Father Knows Best, where Davenport tries to fix Bree's chip, but he fails, leading Leo to get the help of Douglas, who tries to replicate her chip, but again, he fails. Eventually, him and Donald are able to work together and fix her chip, but Donald still kicks him out. But he later decides to give him a second chance and lets him move in with him, meaning Douglas is officially a good guy now. This feels a little forced, though at least they acknowledge it. But I still really like this episode because it's a good entertaining story and I like Donald and Douglas bonding. And Douglas ends up being pretty likable, acting as sort of a second father to the kids. Though I guess he's actually technically their real father, but you know what I mean. 2 episodes later and you posted what? Leo, Principal Perry, and Douglas get attacked by Crane and his partner S1, leading Leo's arm to get crushed by a ceiling beam, which Douglas heals by making his arm bionic. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this. While it does get rid of Leo's role of being the normal non-bionic kid, at least they justify it by having the hospital say that Leo will never be able to use that arm again. And since in this episode, the world finds out that Adam, Bree, and Chase are bionic, it means that now Leo's the one who has to keep a secret. It's also revealed that Crane now has an army of bionic soldiers. Then 6 episodes later, in Rise of the Secret Soldiers, Crane plans to use a Trinap to control everyone in the world. Leo becomes an official member of the team, getting an energy transference upgrade to his bionic arm, meaning he can absorb and give off energy. And also everyone finds out that he's bionic. They fight Crane and his bionic army in his junkyard hideout where he plans to use a stolen satellite to globally transmit the Trinap signal. And eventually Adam, Bree, and Chase are able to fuse their abilities to stop Crane and free his soldiers. But they find out that Davenport is severely injured, and even after surgery he's still in bad condition. And even when their father might die, Adam is still making jokes at Chase's expense.
Don't blame yourself, Douglas. Blame Chase.
But there's still a bunch of bionic kids with nowhere to go. What happens to them? Well, in the next episode, Bionic House Party, Leo is able to save Davenport by transferring some of his energy. But this causes him to age rapidly. Luckily though, Crane's army is able to save him by transferring some of their energy. So Davenport decides to have Adam, Bree, and Chase train the soldiers to become heroes at a bionic academy on an island, which is where the last 3 episodes of Season 3 and the entirety of Season 4 take place. Meaning no more Tasha, Eddie, Trent, Janelle, or Caitlin. But hey, Principal Perry's still here. She retired from being principal because it just wasn't fun without having the Davenports to torment. And she becomes the head of security at the academy. Good to see they managed to keep my favorite character a part of the show, which I guess brings us to the characters. I've already talked about Adam and Douglas, but there's other characters I want to highlight. Leo starts to take an interest in inventing and scramble the orbs, but both his inventions fail, and it's a trade that's abandoned after Free minus Bree. Only 2 episodes later. I guess I should also mention that in this season, you can tell that Leo's actor was going through some changes. His voice has noticeably matured.
We get it. You got married. It's getting old.
Well.
And he's way taller, at this point taller than Bree and Tasha, which kind of gets rid of some of the charm of him being this goofy little kid, but what can you do? Eddie only appears in 3 episodes this season, which is good news for me, I guess. Principal Perry's still here, and she continues to be the best part of the show, though her role starts to shift. As we see less of the school and less of her actually being a principal, she becomes less of an antagonist and more of an anti-hero, feeling more like a weird neighbor or a relative, which I guess is made official by her retiring from being principal and becoming head of security at the academy. Caitlin's annoying side is cranked up to 11 in this season, though thankfully she only appears in 3 episodes. We've also got some new characters! In Zip It, Bree, Chase, and Caitlin get a job at the electronics store Tech Town, which appears in several episodes this season, though Caitlin gets fired, and judging by what happens at the end of the season, I think it's safe to say that Bree and Chase quit. I guess it's true that the more things change, the more they stay the same. With this new location comes a new character named Scott, Tech Town's manager and Bree, Chase, and Caitlin's annoying boss. He can be funny, but I mostly just found him annoying. I also got Helen from Drake and Josh vibes, with how he loves Chase but hates Bree, like how Helen loved Drake but hated Josh. Like Stephanie and Owen, he's another one of those one-season characters, but unlike those characters, it actually makes sense why he never appears again. You also get to meet a few of the Bionic soldiers towards the end of the season. There's S-Free, or Sebastian. In first day at Bionic Academy, he has a rivalry with Chase and a crush on Bree, but then in unauthorized mission, him and Chase become friends. But when Chase tells him what happened to his father, Crane, he secretly swears vengeance on Davenport. Ooh, cliffhanger. There's Spin, Leo's rival, who seems to have made up with him in unauthorized mission. And then there's Bob. He's an idiot who befriends Adam. If you want to know my least favorite episode of the season, it would be Spike Fright, which is the first episode I'd consider straight up bad. And it's a Spike episode. How do you screw that up? I'll tell you how. Adam. This episode is Adam at his worst. Chase finds a girl that actually likes him. And apparently Adam cannot stand the idea that a girl would like Chase but not him, so he ruins Chase's day by making him so nervous that it activates Spike, scaring the girl off. Yeah, he apologizes and makes up for it, but he makes up for it entirely off screen. And even while apologizing, he's still making jokes at Chase's expense, and we don't ever actually see the girl again, making it feel a lot less genuine, and making the episode feel entirely pointless. And the subplot with Leo, Bree, and Davenport thinking that Perry killed one of the lunch ladies is kind of funny, but also pretty stupid and predictable. Obviously, she didn't actually kill the lunch lady, it's clearly some sort of misunderstanding. A close second would be Free minus Bree. It's not bad, it's just very melodramatic and not fun to watch. It feels like a generic dumb teenage girl disobeys their father but quickly regrets it story. This season also has another Christmas special called Merry Glitchmas. The main plot is pretty average, like a lot of episodes this season, but the subplot is pretty funny, seeing the return of Grandma Dooley, and it has a pretty sweet moment where Leo defends Davenport. Overall though, while the first 2 seasons left me excited for what was to come, season 3 had me crossing my fingers that the next season would be better. It's worse. If season 3 was a mixed bag, then I'd say season 4 is painfully average, with only a few good episodes and a ton of mediocre ones with a few bad ones for good measure. Which is honestly worse than if it had been really bad, because then at least it would be interesting to talk about. Like season 3, season 4 peaks at the very beginning with its hour-long premiere, Bionic Rebellion, which, like Sink or Swim, is my favorite purely for its story, drama, and emotional beats. It sees Sebastian forming a rebellion against Davenport and the Lab Rats, trying to avenge Crane, pinning all the soldiers against them. Though luckily, Leo is able to convince Spin and Bob to help him, causing Sebastian and his lackeys to be defeated and sent to jail, no longer being bionic. I find it odd that there wasn't any drama between Bree and Sebastian, considering that they seem to have a mutual affection for each other. Instead, the drama is primarily between Chase and Sebastian, which makes sense since they were good friends. I just find it odd that Bree and Sebastian's relationship wasn't even mentioned, but it doesn't really hinder my enjoyment of the episode. Season 4 is a lot more episodic than Season 3, with just a few small changes to the status quo, like Cleo getting a capsule for his arm and Under Siege. A capsule which is never seen again. The overarching story doesn't really kick in until Bionic Action Hero, where the lab rats find out that a film director named Giselle, Douglas' ex-girlfriend, is making a movie about them starring up-and-coming actor Troy West. But uh-oh, it turns out that Troy is actually a robot made by Giselle, who is actually evil and wants to destroy all bionic superhumans because she got jealous when they overshadowed her androids. If that motivation sounds incredibly stupid to you, that's cause it is. But the worst thing about it is that this is our endgame villain. Not Sebastian, not Crane, not even Marcus, but her. I was very tempted to write this episode off as bad, not only for the villain, but also because it has the moment that officially broke me.
Wait, you make movies, build robots, and you can fight? Look, I know I'm supposed to hate you, but can I just say, you go, girl.
I hate all of you.
This is the moment when I fully realized how much this show had fallen from grace and was officially done with the constant mediocrity. But thankfully everything comes together in the climax. And the end reveal where we find out that Giselle is gonna rebuild Marcus admittedly got me excited. This gets followed up on in the series finale The Vanishing, but I'll save that for later. In terms of characters, on top of the arm capsule, Leo also gets a bionic leg and space elevator, and becomes a mentor in On the Edge, which makes sense since I always thought it was weird that he was still a student, yet allowed to go on missions with Adam, Bree, and Chase. Adam is still annoying, and I find it really frustrating that by the end of the series, he's still the same stupid jerk. Sure, Space Colony kind of gives him a character arc, but once again, it's ruined by a stupid joke.
And from now on, I'm gonna be a perfectly responsible adult. Great. You know it's never gonna happen, right?
Yeah, I figured as much.
Guys, this is the penultimate episode of this series. You don't have to stick to the status quo. Eddie gets his send-off episode in the form of Human Eddie, where Davenport gives Eddie a human body and makes him nice so he can be Principal Perry's partner. But Principal Perry doesn't like the new Eddie, so she reverts him back to his original personality. Eventually, Davenport finds out and puts him back on the wall. This episode's a nice send-off to Eddie, but not a great episode overall. I'm honestly confused as to why Eddie wasn't in the finale, but whatever. If there's one thing that stays consistent throughout the entire series, it's Principal Perry. She is always consistently the best character. Trent doesn't appear in this season, meaning he doesn't get a send-off, and neither does Chanel, only being mentioned in one episode. But hey, Caitlin gets a send-off episode. Yay. Crane returns in Space Colony, which is a pretty good episode. He teams up with Dr. Gao, a character who's introduced and only appears in this episode. Wouldn't it be more interesting if he teamed up with Sebastian? But whatever, it's still a good story. S1 returns in One of Us, and with her try not being deactivated, becomes a good guy and is renamed Taylor, forming a friendship with Leo. It's pretty sweet. And on the Edge, Leo accidentally blinds her, and feeling guilty for what he's done, quits the academy. But he comes back to save the Davenports, and as I said earlier, is promoted to mentor. I really like this episode. I think it's a really good character arc for Leo, though S1 also doesn't appear in the finale. Spin weirdly only shows up in 3 episodes early on this season before completely disappearing from existence. But hey, Bob's still here, and he's really annoying. Did we really need 2 Adams? Spike once again returns in Spike vs. Spikette, where we actually meet a female Spike. And this time he redeems himself, being one of the funnier episodes this season, though there is some awkward humor with Spikette treating Chase like a baby.
Baby, good.
good now.
Perry's niece Carrie from the season 2 episode Add 'em Up actually returns in the episode Under Siege, which is one of the best of this season, not really because of her, but because it's funny and has a good mystery. Though, disappointingly, there's no Grandma Dooley episode this season. My least favorite episode was Simulation Manipulation. Chase is really annoying here. There's also Spider Island, which is about Adam getting bit by a venomous spider and everyone else has to look for it so they can use its venom to make an antidote, which sounds like it'd be interesting, but it's actually really boring. But I want to highlight this one joke that completely fails and perfectly represents my problems with Adam's character in these latter 2 seasons. So to set up is that Adam is deathly ill from the spider bite. He asks Chase to come over and tells him that he needs to tell him something, and it's really dramatic. But then Adam says this.
Even when I'm dead,
Adam,
I'll still be taller than you.
You see, my problem isn't even that it's mean-spirited or whatever, it's that you see the joke coming from a mile away. The moment that Adam tells Chase that he has something to say and it's super dramatic, you know that he's gonna say something that's either stupid or at Chase's expense. And he does. Honestly, it would have been funnier if they actually subverted my expectations and Adam didn't say something incredibly stupid. This is my problem with Adam's character. It's not just that he's incredibly unlikable and annoying, it's that his jokes have become so tired and predictable. In Bionic Dog, Leo falls in love with his smartphone assistant, which I'm only mentioning because it reminds me of how everyone was simping for that Samsung girl. There was a crossover with fellow action-oriented Disney XD sitcom Mighty Med and the hour-long special Lab Rats vs. Mighty Med, which I can only assume was titled that for marketing purposes, because the versus aspect is actually a very small part of the episode. It was okay. I'm not very familiar with Mighty Med, though I did prefer the Lab Rats half over the Mighty Med half, which could indicate my feelings on that show as a whole, though it could just be because I didn't like the season of Lab Rats, so who knows. What I do know is that Bree gets a crush on that annoying kid from Ant Farm, a crush that is really awkward, especially when she says that he reminds her of Chase.
Yes! Chase! You remind me of Chase! You remind me of Chase, ew!
This causes her to lose the crush, but still it feels a little incest. In the series finale, The Vanishing, Giselle kidnaps all the Bionic soldiers so she can kill them with help from Marcus, who wants revenge on Douglas and the Lab Rats, but they're able to defeat them. And at the end, we find out that Tasha is pregnant and that an upgrade to the Bionic students means they no longer need the Academy, so now they'll be split into teams, which includes the Lab Rats. Adam and Leo decide to oversee the transition at the Academy, while Bree and Chase decide to take on a new mission, leading to a heartfelt goodbye. Like I said, there are several recurring characters that don't get a send-off, and having Giselle as our endgame villain is really stupid. But overall, it's okay. It's a little emotional, but not as much as it could have been. But at least Principal Perry gets a well-deserved send-off, actually being concerned for the Lab Rats, showing that she does have a heart. So yeah, I didn't like Season 4, but at least the show ended here before it could get really bad. Though, I can't help but feel like that ending was setting up something else. No! No!
oh my.
Elite Four sucks. Usually I like to watch the full series when reviewing TV shows, but with Elite Force I watched the first episode and decided it was enough because I really didn't feel like watching the other 15. If it gets any better, tell me in the comments and maybe I'll finish it, but if it's the same quality as the first, then it's bad. 90% of the jokes fall flat and I can't get invested in the story or drama because I really don't care about these characters. Having Chase and Bree on their own completely throws off the dynamic because they're supposed to be straight men or women characters that play off of the other wacky characters, but I guess they're the ones who agreed to be in the spin-off, so I guess it makes sense. Like I said, I'm not very familiar with Mighty Med, but if the way the characters are portrayed here is the same as how they are in that show, then I don't want to. Gabe is just a generic idiot character with no charm to him whatsoever. Fletcher is basically just another Chase. And the girl is just another token girl character like Bree. Update. I watched the episode Follow the Leader because Principal Perry was in it and she was just as funny as always. Thank you, Principal Perry, for being the one thing that is consistently good throughout this entire franchise. Everything else still sucked though. In fact, Chase is really annoying in this episode. Overall though, I still really like Lab Rats, even if it definitely went downhill. It's funny, has likable characters, and even pulled off serialization decently well. Even the latter two seasons still have some really good episodes. It's definitely miles better than most Disney kidcoms and most kidcoms in general, and I think it deserves a lot more recognition. Well, that was long. After this, I'll probably work on some shorter videos. As always, I'm the Cartoon Koala, and see you in the next video. Bye!